joining us here in BlockShow Asia in Singapore.
Thank you.
You just came off the big stage. And coming off the big stage, what are a few key takeaways that you wanted to drill home to the audience and to our other viewers? And in turn, did you take something back from the audience yourself? Did you learn anything that you think was key as well?
Yeah, I think it's good to be here. Thank you. And I think the key message I want to leave with the audience is really on when you talk about innovation and emerging technologies, distributed ledger. I think it's very important to retain focus on what's the core problem you're trying to solve.
Right.
And many times we follow innovation agendas behind a technology solution, not the problem. And that end of the day results in failure in many cases. So I think that's something we have as a strong learning internally at Swift, where we focus on core problems.
Right.
We try fixing that first and then look at how the solutions of many, right, DLT is one of them, could apply, right? Okay. So I think that's a key takeaway. And I heard, various aspects of the way digitalization and crypto and everything else is moving. I think we look at technology evolution very favorably. We continue to explore, and we believe that today the DLT technology is not mature enough for core payments and clearing and settlement flows at scale.
Okay.
But really there are definite use cases that it'll be more apt for today. So that's again something which I would like to share and ensure that the audience understands.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about that. Yeah. But in specifically, you're looking at specific problems, and you're seeing if this is blockchain or decentralized applications can really apply. Have you found that the majority of the solutions that you're looking at, that blockchain and decentralization has popped up more than less?
So we looked at a few use cases, right? And I would say in payments and securities and a few problems, yeah? So I'll mention a couple of areas. So one is we looked at the problem of reconciliation for Nostra accounts of correspondent banks globally. So when you have cross-border payments, banks are typically unaware of balances in their global accounts with other banks.
Right.
That introduces a lot of challenge and cost for the bank to manage that liquidity, to ensure that operations can continue. Right. In fact, as per one of the studies, this was judged as about 40% of that high cost of remittances that people end up paying. And we looked at that as one of the problem areas, right, where we could apply DLT.
That's a big dollar.
That's one area, and another area is in the word is standards, because there's still a lack of an interoperable global standard.
Right.
So we started work on really looking at how we can merge the worlds of the, for example, ISO 222 standards with DLT and emerging technologies, make it more business focused and technology agnostic, and try and see how that could be applied as well. So there are a couple of areas where we are moving forward with a proof of concept and some work here.
How are you dealing with real-time payments?
That's right. Yeah.
So how can real-time payments truly benefit? Do you have that roadmap laid out, and can you discuss that right now?
Sure.
How with blockchain?
Sure. So it's very interesting when you say blockchain, right?
When I say as in the technology, as in and I'll use this synonymously. So excuse me on this one. Decentralized databases. Yeah. All right.
So it's interesting. I say because we start with this problem of saying we want to extend the cross-border payment experience to a real-time experience.
Right.
And we actually realized that the technology today, the existing technology without a decentralized or a DLT-based solution, actually survives and works.
Okay, good.
So we just did a trial about a month back where we reused existing infrastructure on the cross-border side and a domestic, real-time rails, and we basically linked up the two to enable, payment within seconds, right? Cross-border. Their involvement obviously of standards, of transformations, of ensuring the two rails work together.
Right.
But ultimately, that experience works today. Now, the question is where can DLT and I would say any kind of decentralized service support this, right? This is already a problem that's getting solved. Okay.
Right.
Where I see the opportunity is not in the core payment rails today, because I believe at scale there's still some time for the technology to mature enough. Yeah,
Okay.
but in terms of the services which are on the top as overlays, right? There can be tremendous amount of work done. For example, in trade, you can have trade financing flows or trade invoicing,
Letters of credit,
KYC,
right?
All kinds of flows,
okay,
right? So if there is a decentralized service or a construct, right, that actually needs a linkage to underlying payment rail, right? We have the capability to connect these rails and these infrastructures together, and
So what's
gain
stopping
benefit
it?
from both.
So let's just be very frank then. So is what's stopping this from being in our lives every day is the banks taking advantage of the fees to engage inside these practices?
Well, it's difficult to say that banks are taking advantage. I think the banks are operating a business.
The reason I say that is I spent some time in fintech, raised a couple $1 million, MasterCard, one of the challenges, underserved communities in America that are sending payments back home. Whether that's Cuba, Dominican Republic, same island, Trinidad, Jamaica, right? We know there are a lot, even Mexico, right? And I realized that working with third-party processors, working with the banks, whether I wanted, if I wanted to, I realized that there was a shortcut. I could use their rails. Could use their rails to pay for, to engage in, to offer better services. And so what you're telling me right now only just, once again, just solidifies the fact it's there, so why is it not being used?
I think what was lacking, and I was mentioning just now, in my presentation about something called GPI that's gone live last year.
Right.
This is an initiative which is actually bringing in transparency to actually matters like fees and forex, for example.
Right.
More predictability on when the money is coming in, a commitment to a credit within a certain time frame.
Right.
We're actually seeing, for example, 40% of these payments getting credited and confirmed within 5 minutes. Money is in the bank account.
Loving this.
So with that kind of a change and transformation, what's happening is that there's a natural market outcome, and I don't think we see a strong driver on costs right now, because there are various aspects which need to be considered. But I think there's a natural market phenomenon towards more openness, right? Towards speed and towards. So all that is happening, and to the points you say, the banks have been enabling services for various kind of flows and payment requirements, for a number of years. I think they'll continue to work, and then I think what's happening is that fintechs and niche payment service providers are filling up the gaps.
Yes, they are.
And it's a healthy ecosystem to have, because the banks are improving their services. The payment service providers are working sometimes in tandem with the banks, sometimes in competition with the banks.
Right.
And it's a healthy ecosystem to have, and for the constituents to learn and grow.
I'm curious to know, do you think these solutions that incorporate distributed ledger, do you think that they will add to fraud, or they will actually mitigate a lot of the fraud?
So that's a very important point, and I think with speed, there's always conversation about fraud and controls. We have actually got multiple. Actually, one large program, an umbrella program called the Customer Security Program, CSP, under which we have multiple controls which are being rolled out and which support the banks and central banks, within the individual markets to actually ensure that a certain level of control and parameters are managed on the security side for critical infrastructure like SWIFT. And on top of that, we are enabling new services. Like, for example, we just launched an in-flight payments control service, which actually checks payments in flight and allows banks to actually configure, checks where they can, depending on, for example, currency flows or whether it's a certain pattern, actually check and stop payments as well.
That's an interesting one. So, in your ideal world, how are you seeing the banks in the future?
I mean, I see them responding to the needs of the end customer, right? What does the customer need today? Is what you and me need, right? We need 24/7.
Right.
We need fast.
That's right.
We need agile, flexible, omnipresent, right? I mean, these are some of the things which I think the banks have to be. Okay. And whatever I see in terms of the emerging technologies, the competitive and collaborative pressure from fintechs, all that is kind of driving towards banks adopting these changes and really addressing needs which are of the end customer, and it's moving towards the customer a lot more as we speak.
It is. It seems as though that the new fintech company is the personalized concierge, right, for personal wealth. Right, and let's hope this somehow we can put this in a more fluid manner, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of Swift in the next year.
Great, we'll keep you posted. There'll be lots of great things coming out next year as well.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Great talking to you.
Same here.